Let's close it out with tight ends. The guys at the top of our rankings, Kelsey, Kittle, and Waller. Sean, who are you relatively high on?
So I'm pretty high on Jacob Hollister this week at Carolina. He's only 3,800, and he's had a disappointing 3-game stretch. Not going to sugarcoat that, but his underlying usage has been pretty steady. He's run a route on 82% of Russell Wilson's dropbacks each of the last 3 games. He's seen a red zone target in each of the last 5 games. So he has that steady underlying usage you want to see out of a tight end, especially a cheap one. And in a Russell Wilson offense, you don't really need to see that many targets to have value, and he's averaged 6 targets the past 3 games. So I think he's a sneaky play this week where he's due to have a big game, and he could be under-owned at a cheaper price like 3,800. I don't really like the tight ends like this week, so all signs point to Hollister for me this week to buy low.
And I should say, in between the time that I have recorded the podcast and when I made the outline, Sean, you have adjusted our rankings, always adjusting our rankings. That's what makes him a professional. But as a result, Zach Ertz is actually our number 3 tight end, not Darren Waller. So Ertz.
Yeah, I did that because of the Eagles wide receiver situation being so thin. And with Waller specifically, just a real quick point, I've always mentioned he has less production in games where the Raiders are winning. So a positive game script is actually negative for him. And this week, they're 6-point favorites, so take of it what you want.
All right, and I'm with you there. I'm relatively high on Ertz and Goddard this week because of the Eagles wide receiver situation. Alshon, I'm assuming, is going to be out in Aguilar. We really don't know what's happening with him either. So, it wouldn't be a surprise if Ertz and Goddard were like the top 2 receivers for the Eagles this week. Raybon, who are you high on?
I mean, it's an ugly tight end slate. There's a couple of guys who, if they are not injured, I do like them as top 10 guys, and that would be Jared Cook and Noah Fant. Now, both of them could miss this week, which would kind of change up the ranking. And then Greg Olson's my number 11. So if those 3 guys are out, then Hollister jumps from 12 to 9 for me. So I like that call from Sean. But another guy I'm relatively high on is Jonnu Smith, and he hasn't been like, the routes have been up and down since Delanie Walker went on IR, but he's been targeted on 15% of Ryan Tannehill's targets since Tannehill took over as a starter, which against Houston could pay off in a major way, because Houston is just, as I mentioned, their weakness is really over the middle of the field, and that's where you would expect Jonnu Smith to get his target. So I have him up at number 14. Houston is their short middle DVOA per Football Outsiders is 65.6% worse than league average, and the next worst team is 30.9%. So they're just getting gouged over the middle, and that could that could benefit a couple of guys like maybe Adam Humphries if he's back, but do like Smith on this kind of bare tight end suite. And I think another guy, kind of just a dart throw Hail Mary guy, especially if Seth DeValve is out for the Jaguars. Nick O'Leary, it was up to 60% route share last week. Now he's going against the Oakland Raiders, and DJ Chark is out. So somebody's got to catch the football, for these Jacksonville Jaguars. And O'Leary could be a guy who could get, 5-6 catches, garbage time. Jags defense has been bad. Raiders giving up the 8th most schedule adjusted yards per game to tight ends at 60.8. So he's kind of a dart throw for me at 3,100 as well.
Hey, don't make fun of Nick O'Leary. I mean, he won the John Mackey Award in college, so legit player. Actually, I'm kind of with you there on O'Leary. Like, he's getting his routes run. Someone has to catch the ball, presumably for the Jaguars. So he's cheap. He could be an option. All of the injured tight ends, I'm relatively low on. We have no idea what's happening with Ingram, Cook, Andrews, Olsen, Fant, or Everett. Like, it's a painful week out there for the tight ends just because of so many injuries. And then one guy we know is probably going to play, and I mentioned him earlier, David Njoku. Like, he's healthy, but he didn't play all that much last week. I'm assuming he's going to get a pretty big boost this week, but We don't know for sure. So there's just like a whole bunch of I don't know, just like tentative projections going on with some of these guys. And so the rankings are going to change pretty drastically by Thursday. And then of course the weekend. But right now, like I know that Njoku has massive upside against the Cardinals, but I'm going to be a little bit cautious with my ranking on him just because he does have the possibility of like once again running like only 10 routes. So yeah, that's where I am. Sean, give us the tight end prop.
So I'm going to go with, I was going to go with Noah Fant, but I guess since he's banged up, let's go with Njoku. I think that's a good prop. Sticking with the Browns being really tough to project this week. Njoku's facing the Cardinals, which is the premier tight end matchup. So I'm just going to wing it right now. I'm going to set his line at 32.5 receiving yards.
I mean,
and I would not offer that up for action. Just put that out there.
Yeah. I mean, this is so hard. I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under just because I don't know why I'm taking the under. Well, that's what I have in my projection. And like, I think it is possible he doesn't play all that many snaps again. Like they have other options. They have Ricky Seals Jr., Ricky Seals Jones. Yeah.
They have revenge game.
Yeah. Exactly. In the revenge game. They have Ricky Seals Jones. I didn't even think about the revenge game.
Oh, well, okay. All right. I'm lowering the prop. You got me there.
Demetrius Harris, I think he has a shoulder issue, but he might be coming back for this game. Like they have other options where they don't need to rush Njoku back. So I'll take the under.
I have him at 33.6, and I have him, and that's so I'll just over by a yard, so I'll go over. I just essentially so he ran a route on a third of the dropbacks last week, and then in his only like healthy game, he ran around on route on 70%. So I just kind of took the average of those two, and it's 52. And so that's where I have his routes run, and so that projects him for about a 13% target share. So that's how I kind of arrived at that number, but I have him at 3 catches for 33.6 yards.
So you're going
tight
over?
18. Yeah, over by a yard. Cool. It's my tight end 18, but yeah, if Ingram, Andrews, Cook, Fant are out, he would jump up 4 spots. So then he would be 14. So I mean, I think he's definitely in the streamer conversation this week. And another guy, it's like Tyler Higbee as well. If Everett is out, it's another guy who would jump up massively.
Yeah. Would love Higbee in that spot.
I mean, let's just be honest. For the Fantasy Pros contest this week, are we all just ranking him number 15?
Who? Higbee?
No, Njoku.
Njoku? Yeah, it depends who's in and out this week. I would love for Njoku to be a fantasy relevant player in the contest this week.
Yeah.